NASDAQ offers 12-week programs for women entrepreneurs, and I will be one of the cornerstone mentors. And in this cohort, we have quite a few nurses in the cohort. So go nurses. I love to see nurses, women taking their power back. So apparently people have been vandalizing those Tesla trucks, and Trump issued a statement. ABC 7 News reports that Trump suggests Tesla vandals should face 20 years in jail, be sent to El Salvador. My focus is the fact that the president is saying that the people should go to jail for 20 years. And that's an interesting statement coming from someone who is twice impeached and found guilty of 34 counts during his hush money trial.
Welcome to Nurses with Voices. I'm Dr. Lendra, your host and fellow nurse who's traded in burnout for breakthroughs. I'm here to show you how to transform your nursing career into one filled with purpose, reduced stress, and incredible opportunities. Whether you're looking to start your own business, build generational wealth, or simply find a healthier role in nursing, this podcast is for you. Join me to explore practical strategies to overcome burnout, combat bias, and chart new paths in nursing. It's time to reclaim your voice and reimagine your future in healthcare. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode of Nurses with Voices. I'm Dr. Lendra, and welcome back to NURS 201 week 2. Now, before we get into today's lesson, I have some great news. So this is a hot topic. I have some great news. I am now a cornerstone mentor for NASDAQ Entrepreneur Women Center. What that means is NASDAQ offers 12-week programs for women entrepreneurs, and I will be one of the cornerstone mentors. And in this cohort, we have quite a few nurses in the cohort. So go nurses. I love to see nurses, women taking their power back. So I was actually proud. I was a little surprised, to be honest. And I was like, okay. As they were calling off their profession, saying what they do and why they were doing it, it was just very super impressive. So I'm very, very proud and looking forward to what these ladies are going to be doing over their next 12-week journey. And I want to talk a little bit about my vision. Meeting the new mentees with the NASDAQ mentorship program, it made me reconnect with my vision. And not that I was ever disconnected from it, but just going over my vision statement, because this is something that we have the mentees during the program, you refine your vision statement. And looking at my vision statement, I said, I should share this on my podcast. So I wanted to share my vision statement with all of you. And I want you to craft a vision statement for yourself. And that will be a part of the NURS 201 homework that we're going to get into. And if I don't mention it when I start talking about homework, you're not off the hook, because you are to draft a vision statement. And I want to share my vision statement. So something that we do is we go over vision statements, and it helps you to reconnect you with your why, right? Because a lot of times we want to start a business because, oh, I'm burnt out, so I want to leave the hospital, or I want to do something different. Well, what is your vision and what is your why behind wanting to do that? And I'll give you an example of when you put together your why and when you put together your vision statement, it also helps you to build your niche, right? So when you look at your niche, my niche would be I empower high achieving nurses and nurse leaders to break through from burnout and achieve financial independence. Now, why? What is my why behind that? Let me back up a minute. My key words here are high achieving nurse leaders, right? So that it would be my niche. I'm looking for high achieving nurses who are ready to level up, basically, who ready level up to your next level career, level up to entrepreneurship, transition, transform. You're looking for a transformation. My why behind that is why is because nurses work hard and are undervalued and underpaid. Why? Because nurses do not have a voice in decision making about their daily lives or their daily shifts. Why? Because nurses are not taught about money or finances or the business side of healthcare. Why? Because we live in a society that can be biased and decisions are not always made that will help and support the healthcare workforce. Why? Because healthcare has become a system of profit over patients. So what is my deeper why? My deeper why is I empower high achieving nurses and nurse leaders to break free from burnout through mentorship so that they can stop trading time for money. And just like that, you have my vision statement. You have my niche and you have my vision statement. You see how it all connects. So I love that The Cornerstone Milestone Mentorship Program is allowing me to be able to mentor other nurses or other just high achieving women, right? Because the program isn't necessarily for nurses. I'm just proud that to see nurses in the program. The program is for entrepreneur women, and I'm so happy to see NASDAQ Women's Entrepreneurship Center putting this on. Well, and in other news, I have to put my glasses on for this one. So apparently people have been vandalizing those Tesla trucks, and Trump issued a statement. ABC 7 News reports that Trump suggests Tesla vandals should face 20 years in jail, be sent to El Salvador. Tesla dealerships have faced attacks since Elon Musk began his White House role. Oh, what does that say? What it's saying is people are saying, Elon Musk, stop. That's what they're saying. People want to stop what he's doing. And it's interesting to me. The president wants to send people to jail for vandalizing a vehicle. Now, not that I'm not condoning vandalizing the vehicles, but this man has stopped essential programs that have put people out of job, that is costing healthcare across not only the United States, across other countries. Again, this is my opinion. Right now, I'm stating my opinion from facts that I've seen. But the point is, this man has has contributed to, I should say, an uproar in the country. And this is how people are fighting back. And not that I'm condoning it or saying that it's right. Please understand my words. My focus is the fact that the president is saying that the people should go to jail for 20 years. And that's an interesting statement coming from someone who is twice impeached and found guilty of 34 counts during his hush money trial. Jurors in the New York criminal trial against Donald Trump have convicted him of 34 felony counts of falsified business records. Now, let's go back to May 2023. Trump liable for sexual abusing and defaming a woman and ordered him to pay $5 million in damages. Trump made an unsuccessful counterclaim in December 2024. I say all this to say this is the person who is saying that someone needs to go to jail for vandalizing cars. What are your thoughts? Now, let me go back to, I've said this before. This is the leader of what's supposed to be the free world. And I've said this before, when you have ineffective leadership, these are the type of antics that go on. But again, they're all distractions. So we have to stay focused. So we have to stay focused with the good news, like the Cornerstone Mentorship NASDAQ program. We have to position ourselves with a lot of the uncertainty, government changes, job losses, and the removal of DEI. Now is the time to empower yourself and really take control of your financial future and your career. And whether that's starting a business, whether that's leveling up, entrepreneurship is a go-to, because entrepreneurship is yours. And entrepreneurship is something that you can start with your skills, and your leadership skills being one of them. So let's focus on our class session for today. So our class session for today, this is week 2, and we are going to look at building leadership confidence and overcoming challenges. And so what does that mean, and what does that look like? I want to give you some strategies for building confidence and influence as a nurse leader, coaching and mentoring, and how to support your staff while leading effectively, and work-life balance. And what does setting boundaries in leadership look like? And why I can talk about these things is because there were definitely things that I could have done better. And there were definitely things that I did effectively, very effectively as well. I built programs in the hospital setting. I built programs. I closed programs. I wrote policies and procedures. I led the initiation of units. I opened units, closed units. I can speak to these things, right? So I've worked in various areas across the country, so I can speak to these things. And I can, like I said, I can speak to my things I could have done better. And I can speak to things I could have done differently, and which is why mentorship is so important. And I have to say, mentorship is something I never had. And because I never had mentorship, it's that much more important to me that I mentor and I provide value to others. Last week, your homework was to complete a leadership self-assessment. You have different leadership tools. You can Google leadership tools that you can look at and try to do a leadership self-assessment. But the idea was really just for you to do some self-reflection on where you are and where you feel like you are. We don't necessarily always need a tool. Sometimes I think that's what we're taught, and we're programmed that way. Like, oh, this tool, this evidence-based tool is going to tell me what I need and who I am. You know who you are, and you can think of and write down 10 things you know that you do good, 10 things that you know that you could do better, 10 things that you want to perfect. And that can be your leadership assessment. And I say this to say, as we go into looking at building your leadership, and I'll give you guys some tools as well. But when we go into looking at your leadership, confidence and overcoming challenges, the first thing you want to look at is what is your plan. So we're going to draft the plan this week, and that's going to be your assignment, is to draft a leadership development plan. And that's really just basically an outline, taking those 3 steps, those 3 pillars that we just talked about, what you do well, what you could do better, and what you want to perfect, and really drafting an outline with that so that you can have your leadership development plan. And your leadership development plan, it's your structured roadmap to help you as a nurse leader strengthen your skills, right? And build your confidence and create a meaningful impact in your role. The plan really focuses on 3 key areas. Is building confidence and influence, like I mentioned, coaching and mentoring, work-life balance, and setting boundaries. How you build confidence and influence as a nurse leader is self-awareness. How do you develop self-awareness? You have to identify your strengths. If you ever heard of a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, develop that. And all you do is put it in a format and have strengths in one area, your weaknesses in one area, your opportunities and your threats in another area. That's going to be how you're going to really start to identify your self-awareness. And you're also going to look at your leadership style in that way as well. Remember last week we talked about leadership styles, whether you're transformational, whether you're a servant, whether you're situational. Those are the 3 leadership styles. And there may be others that people may also mention. I want you to focus on 3, because sometimes when we have too many options, we're like, well, I'm this and I'm that, and I'm focused on the 3 leadership options that we talked about. And then you want to enhance your communication skills, master your assertive communication and active listening, your emotional intelligence, figuring out what your emotional intelligence is. How do you react to situations? Join professional organizations, attend leadership workshops, and seek mentorship. And this is why I host events like the Health and Wealth Expo, the virtual and live summits, because we are a movement, and we are in a movement where we provide that mentorship, we provide that coaching, and you get your coaching. That is an example of a leadership workshop that you can attend. Some of the focuses during the summit is going to be, we're going to have a business plan workshop. We're going to have a medical writing workshop. These are the type of things that we discuss during the summit. And these are the type of organizations that you want, or events that you want to be a part of, because these things are going to help you lead by example. They're also going to help you expand your network, which is another thing that you want to do. You want to expand your network. Being with these organizations, and they'll help you not only lead by example, to help you really model your professionalism, adaptability, ethical decision making. This is how you're going to lead by example, because you want to model these behaviors. And it also helps you to embrace continuous learning, right? And it helps you to stay updated on healthcare trends, leadership strategies, and evidence-based practices. So what we bring to the Health and Wealth Expos, we utilize practices. What are the lawmakers saying? Having a healthcare attorney talk about healthcare law so that you can structure your business properly. Having a nurse talk about how to start a mental health practice as a nurse practitioner. We provide actionable steps. Action steps are super important when it comes to developing a leadership plan and strengthening your strategies. And I hope I'm not going too fast and you guys can keep up. And action steps number 1. So let me just outline it. Take a leadership assessment test, right? And we just talked about this. If that's what you really feel like you need to do, and you should, I know, like, again, because evidence-based says we should, you can take a Gallup test, you can do strength finders, you can take the Myers-Briggs type indicator. That's a very popular one. And it looks at you being an extrovert, an introvert. It looks at your personality and 4 dichotomies of, who you are and in your traits. So it's a really popular one, the MBTI. Practice public speaking in meetings or in team huddles. I know when I used to have to give presentations during leadership meetings, I used to run team huddles for my staff, and I would have to present during certain meetings. I remember one time I spoke at a meeting, and one of the nurses came up to me afterwards, one of the nurse leaders, and she goes, "I have such a fear of public speaking." And for me, it was something that I didn't even think about. And I didn't really consider that people have a fear of public speaking. And for me, it's just talking comes, and I wanted to read, I guess maybe because I like talking to people, not that other people don't, but some people, I say this to say some people it comes naturally to, and some people it doesn't, and they need that practice. So practicing during your huddles, during your meetings, during certain leadership meetings, public speaking opportunities, whether it's at your church, your urban league centers in your communities, these things will help you to develop that skill. Attend at least one leadership development conference or workshop a year. And this is where you can take advantage of the Health and Wealth Expo, the live summit that we're hosting in May in New Jersey. So these are definitely great opportunities to start to develop your leadership skills. Now, when you talk about coaching and mentoring, how do you support your staff while leading effectively? One thing is you want to encourage professional growth. You want to help your staff set career goals and provide development opportunities. So if there's an opportunity for them to become a charge nurse, if there's an opportunity for them to become or an assistant manager, if there's an opportunity in another department that that they'll thrive in, you want to be able to give them those opportunities. Are there certification courses, or is the hospital providing that a reimbursement? I was talking with a nurse yesterday, and I asked her, some hospitals, they actually will pay for the certification. And she said that they don't pay for the certification, but they give something like a $3,000 bonus where she works. So to me, that's like paying for the certification. So it's worth it. Right? So really fostering that type of development for your staff and provide constructive feedback. That's something that I could have done better as a nurse leader. That's something that I had to learn. I had to learn how to develop and provide constructive feedback. It is for me. So for some people, again, it comes natural. But for me, that's something that I had to learn how to do, because I would say something and not realizing I may have offended someone. So we have to consider people's backgrounds, and we have to consider where they're coming from, because some people may be coming from a very vulnerable place. And because that wasn't something that was, instilled in me coming up, I was never coached. My leaders were never empathetic and nurturing when they delivered information to me. So I thought that was, that was the leadership trail, that, this is what I say, and I just say what I mean, and you don't take it offensively. And I had to learn that that's really not how it goes. But again, had I had mentorship, I would have been able to provide that feedback more effectively. So it's important to be able to craft your feedback constructively, so that it fosters a growth mindset. So you want to provide it in a way where it helps that person grow, and you're offering guidance that empowers that area of improvement. And while doing all this, you also want to create a safe space for inclusive environments, because you never want people to feel that they're excluded because either their ethnic background. Never want them to feel that there's favoritism, or they're not smart enough, or they're not good enough, or they're too weak. Because you're going to have very weak nurses, and you're going to have strong nurses. And it's important that the strong nurses support the weaker nurses, partnering those nurses, or you as the leader partnering with that weaker nurse and really helping to see what really is behind their weakness. Where is it coming from? Because let's face it, everyone comes in at different levels, and that's why they have beginner level, the intermediate level, the expert level, right? So you have to think of it that way. You want to develop your future leaders, right? You want to develop them, and you want to be able to identify emerging nurse leaders. Now, sometimes, and there are nurse leaders who are very effective as nurse leaders, and they may not have been that effective clinically, but as nurse leaders, they're very, very, very effective. Now, a nurse leader, you don't have to have like the best clinical skills. Sometimes you're better on the admin level. And sometimes we know that. Sometimes nurses go into nursing because they want to start off at the bedside, because that's where they feel like they need to start in order to make that connection. And then they go into admin and they go into leadership. Doesn't mean they were the best clinical nurse, but they're very effective as a nurse leader. So that's something to consider. The action steps for coaching and mentoring is really having those one-on-one coaching sessions, those monthly sessions with your teams, implementing a nurse mentorship program within your environment, whether it's organizational, whether it's within your units, within your department, and recognizing and rewarding your staff, their contributions, and doing it regularly. Because I think sometimes we don't do it enough. And being able to recognize staff in real time, I think it goes a long way. And while doing all of this as a leader, you have to have work-life balance. And what that means is you have to set boundaries in your leadership style. Something that I never did. I always had my phone on 24/7. And that's something that I make sure that I do now in my business, that I make sure I have time that I do turn off, because you have to have that. Otherwise, just like in leadership, in nursing leadership, you'll burn out in your business as well. And I've crafted time for myself where Mondays are light for me, Fridays are light for me, Sundays are my day, and even the weekends in general are pretty much my time, unless I have an event or unless I have something going on with the business. But again, I have that flexibility and I've crafted my schedule that way. But I had to learn that, right? I was talking with one of my speakers for the upcoming Health and Wealth Expo, and she said that she turns off, she doesn't check emails after 5, and her weekends are her time. That's her time with her husband. She had to learn that. And same thing within the inpatient setting. You have to learn that if your hours are 8 to 4 o'clock, you turn off your work phone. Leave your work phone at the office if you need to. Don't check your emails unless it's something really, really, really important. You have to learn to create that boundaries, and you have to learn what that boundary looks like for you. I used to have my phone on 24/7. My staff would like call me, email me, text me like all times. And I would give even the night shift, the graveyard shift, I would give them grace and I would respond. But what was that doing for my mental health? What was that doing for my energy? And it was just really adding to my exhaustion. And so you have to prioritize self-care. Even my clients, one of my weight loss clients, I was telling her recently, she was talking about her schedule and we were talking about her weight gain and how stress contributes to the weight. I said, over the next 4 weeks, what I want you to do is I want you to take one day and let that one day be your self-care day. And I want you to take 10 minutes out of your day during your work week, make that 10 minutes be your time to yourself. And that will make a huge difference. And she said, you know what, I'm going to try it. So we actually have a follow-up this week, and I can't wait to hear how she did with that. And everything that I'm talking about, prioritizing self-care, I'm also talking about time management strategies as well. When I talk about leaving the phone and setting schedules, this is your time management. And a part of that time management is using delegations, using automations, setting that automation when you're out of office so that people know that this is a part of your boundaries. Or if you're an entrepreneur, setting those automations for your workflows, right? To make you're a nurse leader in your business, but you shouldn't have to be sending all these emails. You should have automations that are doing that. Prioritization techniques. What's important? What do I have to get done today? What can wait till tomorrow? And what can wait to next week? So these are the type of things that you want to really implement in your time management strategies. And set clear work-life boundaries. So all of these things are helping you to set those clear work-life boundaries. Know when to say no. No is a complete sentence, and it can be no, period. Because you want to avoid overcommitting yourself. It really can just lead to that exhaustion. You have to establish non-negotiable personal time. You have to. An example of that is my speaker who says she doesn't check her emails after 5 and her weekends are with her husband. So you have to establish that non-negotiable time for you. And advocate for a healthy work culture, whether that's in your business or whether that's in your leadership role. We have to learn to normalize nurses taking breaks and nurses not waiting until the end of the shift to go to the bathroom. We have to encourage that, encourage breaks. And I remember one of the hospitals that I worked at, when I was trying to encourage breaks, it wasn't normalized. Nurses were like, no, I have to finish up. I have to finish up what I'm doing. And in their minds, them taking a break would make them stay longer. And I would be like, I would be freaked. I was just mesmerized that no one wanted to take a break, but it wasn't normalized for them taking a break. In states like California, you have to take a break. Don't go to California and that break nurse comes to you and say, it's time for you to go to break. And you say, no, not yet. You're right. Say that to say, we have to. And, so implementing a no work emails, your action steps for this would be implementing a no work emails after hour policy, schedule at least one personal self-care activity weekly, and delegate administrative tasks to avoid leadership burnout. Your assignment this week is to draft your leadership development plan and outline your specific goals and objectives and take actionable steps in each of the 3 key areas. Your plan should include a personal leadership goal, what leadership qualities you want to develop, your action plan, and your timeline and accountability. Set deadlines, identify mentors or resources to track your progress. Put it in a structured format. If we were doing a NURS 201 class, I would be expecting submissions should be 1 and 2 pages in length. Put it in bulleted format. And you know what? start working on your leadership development plan, catch up on week 1, recognizing your leadership style, and tune in for next week. Next week, we will be talking about career growth and leadership communication. So I can't wait till next week. Thank you guys for joining me, and I hope you really consider joining us at the Health and Wealth Expo Live Summit taking place May 15th and 16th in New Jersey. You can register at healthandwealthexpolive.com. You can go onto the website, see all of the beautiful, amazing things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about nurse business development, how to monetize your expertise, how to start a mental health practice as a nurse practitioner. We're going to have that medical writing workshop. We're going to talk about real estate investing with AI. We're going to have a whole round table discussion on DEI. We're going to talk about HR consulting. I mean, I can go on and on. We're going to talk about, financial education. Of course, you guys have asked for financial education, and I have such a surprise for you that I'm going to wait until next week to mention. But until next time, make sure that you log on to healthandwealthexpolive.com, and I can't wait to see you guys and talk more about this next week. Until then, make sure that you stay inspired, stay educated, and stay empowered.